What was the best moment you've seen where the real world hit a spoiled rich kid? Know a guy whose dad was the CEO of a Fortune 500 company for around 10 years. Was playing video games on Discord with him earlier in the year when he drops this beauty. My dad isn't paying for my rent anymore. I can't believe how hard budgeting is when I have to pay for my own rent. I can only go out drinking once a week now. Have you guys always had to watch what you spend this closely? He turned 25 this year and has been out of college and working for 2 years. I had a roommate my freshman year of college that came from an incredibly rich oil family from the Middle East. I remember him having the hardest time adjusting to not having someone else prepare him food. I remember waking up one morning and going to the kitchen and seeing him try to eat eggs and toast he had just prepared himself. He asked me how I normally prepare fried eggs because his tasted really crunchy. Turns out he had just cracked the egg hole into the pan and prepared it shell and all. I couldn't stop laughing but felt really bad for the dude. At least he tried. No joke here. Back in high school, 90s, this kid got a brand new Chevy Camaro. I had an old ass 80s Pontiac Phoenix that had the straight six. It was by far not a racing car, but this tool was just looking to brag at what he got compared to the busted cars we got. About 2 days later, while we were waiting at a stoplight, this idiot tries to race us as I am in my car and I pull up with my friends. He starts by revving it really loud and tries to do a burnout. Mind you, the light was red and the roads were not wet. So he managed to get a tiny burnout going. Some smoke and whatnot. When his tires did catch traction, he went barreling into the intersection and smashed the car of the wife of one of the very few cops in my small city. Needless to say, that didn't work out for him very well. There was a kid in my school class who was a trust fund baby and he acted like it. He was picking on people one day, just talking unnecessary shit, and he called a girl a cow. She was overweight. He then got punched by a special education kid in class. And then when he contemplated retaliating against the special education kid, he then got punched by another student who was not special needs. He did not contemplating punching him. I knew a kid in high school whose parents were loaded. When he got his driver's license, they bought him a $70,000 Mercedes. Within a month or two he totaled the car while driving drunk. Parents pulled strings to get him off the full weight of the DUI. Oh. And they bought him another $70,000 Mercedes. Semicolon. He overdosed on a shitload of drugs and booze when he was 23. He's dead. Jesus, that was a blunt ending. I knew this rich kid from high school that went off to college and partied every single night. His parents found out that he was failing basically all of his classes. So they secretly drove up early one Saturday morning with the spare set of keys to the car they had bought him and just drove off with the car. That one Instagram model who got caught on video talking shit to a security guard at VidCon. Not only did the guard stand his ground and not let him in, because he wasn't famous enough to be given a pass and too rich to just buy one, but once the internet saw the video, the guard ended up with more followers than the kid. Classmate in college failed his course. Partied for a year with daddy's money. Never studied. Ever. Thing is, inheriting his father's construction company, 2 quarries, a fleet of trucks and equipment, depended on him manning up and passing the class. All he had to do was learn the basics of mechanical diagnostic and repair, and be set for life. Middle school. A classmate is on the phone, when most of us didn't have cell phones, screaming at her stepdad. "Patrick, I need the $500. I need to buy new jeans." She did not get the $500, but she did later get to be a teen mom. So that was cool. Edited to ADD. She wanted multiple pairs of jeans. This was when bootcut, skinny, and bedazzled jeans were all equally popular at our school. She was not going to spend the $500 on one pair. Raise your kids and spoil your grandkids. One of my college roommates was very rich growing up. I didn't realize just how rich until I had to explain to her what a coupon was in very extensive detail. On multiple occasions she bragged that she wasn't even interested in her major, philosophy, or college in general. But she was at uni because her parents were requiring her to get a degree. Any degree. In order to get access to her trust fund. I don't remember ever seeing her go to class, and she eventually got expelled sophomore year over academic dishonesty. I guess this was the last straw for her parents because they cut her off pretty soon after that. This actually served as a wake-up call. She somehow managed to get a public health degree at a different school in spite of the academic dishonesty listed on her transcript. She's doing pretty well for herself these days. We've kept in touch, and last we talked she was considering grad school. Local business owner puts son through college and more. When kid graduates with multiple degrees, dad decides to retire and turn over business to son. Son brings college cronies on board. Has management all wear white cowboy hats and drive white pickups. Begins revamping business. Dad comes out of retirement pronto. Gets rid of son and cronies. Years later, bankrolls son's run for state rep. The son lost. Dad dies and leaves business to daughter. Rich scummy injury lawyer's kid was in my class in HS. Goes to college, mid-sized school in the Midwest, and gets blasted drunk. Parents bought him and his friends alcohol since freshman year, so nothing new, and Ra says he has to write him up for alcohol in the dorms. Punches 2 Ras. Then gets cops called on him and knocks a cop's tooth out. Long story short, his parents have to drive back 6-7 hours after one day to get him, and he's not even allowed to leave the state until his hearing. Last I heard, he's working at a fast food establishment. Freshman year of college, the guy across the hall from me is a spoiled rich kid from a big southern city. Old money clearly coming out his ass. A couple weeks into the second semester, he and a buddy found a checkbook on the sidewalk. Stupid FKs decided to write themselves a check and cash it in the bank that the account is in. The teller immediately called the cops and they both got arrested. We talked the night he got arrested and he laughed and said his dad would take care of it and everything would be fine. That weekend we met his dad as they moved everything out of the dorms since his dumbass got expelled. Guess daddy didn't take care of it. In a country with high alcohol taxation, rich kids enter pub. Like 10-12 of them. Throw card at bartender. Demanding shots. What would y'all like? Whatever lol. Dad is paying LMAO. Bartender pours double J. W. Blues for all the brats and some randoms that they treated. Brat with card had tears in his eyes when the tab came in. Dad's going to kill me. I did enjoy the free whiskey though. I knew one who apparently couldn't fathom how people live on a budget. We used to hang out a lot at her insistence, but she liked to eat at expensive places, whereas I'd have no issue having my meals somewhere cheaper. However, she kept pouting and insisting I stay. I said I couldn't unless she wanted to spot me. She didn't. I then walked her through the math and showed her that the cost of my meals with her every day totaled my entire wage for the month. She didn't stop pouting, but from then on I could eat by myself in peace. My best moment was when I got hired by a pair of Woodside CA parents to transition their horrible 18-year-old into the realities of real life. Something that evaded both of them. My first action was to take away his platinum, limitless credit cards. He threw a tantrum that lasted several days. Where am I going to get money? Get a job. My parents will fire you. They didn't. And he realized that boundaries and budgets had been set in stone. And that he not only had to pay the bills, the rent, but taxes too. He headed straight to college to wait out the next 4 years. He is still a little jerk. But at least he has a job and an education now. One of my college roommates told his parents the trip we were planning, that they were paying for, was $400 more expensive than it was, so he could buy a really nice bong. In addition, they basically paid for everything he wanted. He had their credit card and ordered food on it at least once daily. He also would make $50 purchases off the card pretty regularly. Long story short, they found out he lied about the cost of the trip. For whatever reason they still paid and let him go. But after the trip he could not use their card anymore. This dude acted like he lived the hardest life of all time afterwards. But eventually sucked it up. He actually acts way less entitled now. It ended up having a lasting positive effect for him, even though he wouldn't admit it. Kid I knew won a cool $1 million off a scratch ticket when he was 19. Acted like a big shot. Arrogantly buying rounds of drinks for entire bars. Didn't douche tea for 20 years. Then got the last check, alcoholic. No savings. No assets. No skills. He's now in and out of hospitals for alcohol poisoning and mental breakdowns. Lost his paper hat job. His GF. Everything. TBF, if I had $1 million handed to me at 19, I'd probably be dead.